Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, neighbor tells Gramps he should mind his own damn business. That advice costs neighbor most of his yard and a car. Company doesn't allow me to have my phone, so I cost them $100K plus. I can't take time off? Not an issue. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Neighbor tells Gramps he should mind his own damn business. That advice costs neighbor most of his yard and a car. Gramps had just moved into a retirement park with a lot that backed up to county land that was a nature preserve. His backyard was basically non-existent, but he didn't mind as he got to look out over the preserve. However, he did marvel at how his next-door neighbor's backyard extended a good 8 foot past his, giving neighbor a nice space back there. Gramps tried to be friendly with all his new neighbors, exchanging phone numbers and the like, and one day he noticed the next-door neighbor was putting down expensive pavers that extended from his back door all the way to the old fence posts that designated the preserve boundary. Gramps watched the neighbor yank the 3 rickety fence posts out of the ground and move them back an extra 2 feet into the preserve before pounding them back in, then started to clear the land, intending to gain himself more area for his pavers. Gramps used to work for the National Park Services as a young lad, so he thought he had better warn his neighbor of the consequences of his actions, so he heads out back for a little chat. Neighbor is immediately defensive, and before Gramps says much, neighbor tells him, "You're new here, I've been here 10 years and to mind your own business." Gramps decides not to press the issue. Nothing happens that year, but the following year, when most of the park emptied out to head north for the summer, the county comes by to check on the preserve. Gramps notices them going back and forth behind his neighbor's house. The workers are pulling out maps and taking photos and making phone calls, and soon more guys show up. Turns out neighbor has moved the posts several times over the years, and in reality his backyard is supposed to be even smaller than Gramps' backyard. To make it worse, neighbor put pavers in the back specifically to park both his golf cart and a cherry red sports car back there for the summer, so the county will have to move them before they can do anything else. They tape a notice to the front door and leave. Gramps goes over to read it, and it states that neighbor was in violation of encroaching onto protected lands. He has 30 days to move his car, tear up the pavers, and pay a fine of $11,000 because of damage to endangered species who inhabit the protected lands, as well as trespassing fees. Failure to do so within 30 days will result in golf cart and car being towed and impounded. Pavers will be dug up and carted off at neighbor's expense, and the fine will increase for every additional day past the deadline. 30 days comes and goes, so a week after that Gramps has quite the show, as first the car and cart were towed, pavers were dug up and hauled off, and the old fence posts and ropes were replaced with metal posts embedded into buried cement bases, connected by steel cables. Whole process took several weeks to finish, but the preserve looked a lot more legit when they were done. A few solar cameras were installed so the county could monitor the wildlife and encroachers remotely. Meanwhile, more notices were taped to the front door of neighbor's house. By November, the snowbirds were flooding back into the park, including neighbor. That was Gramps' second show of the summer as neighbor reads all the notices, digging down until he reads the first one, then runs out back and starts screaming and cussing up a storm before running back to his car to dig out his cell phone so he can call the county to find out where his car and golf cart were. Gramps stays indoors to avoid the guy as he is frantically trying to unload his car, turn on his water and electricity, get the AC in the toilets going, and all the while trying to get someone at county to pick up the phone and give him some answers. He finally gets a live person and proceeds to scream at them while on speakerphone about his car and cart, so the call keeps getting kicked to other people because who wants to help a screamer? Basically, neighbor is told to come to the county office to get this straightened out. 3 days later, neighbor catches Gramps outside and asks if he was here when the county stole his car and destroyed his backyard. Gramps said he was, and neighbor says, "Well, why didn't you call me when you saw them putting notices on my door? You had my number up north." Gramps said he had thought about doing that, but figured neighbor would prefer him to mind his own business, so he decided against it. There is nothing in the world like a Gramps. Thank you for this beautiful story. It makes me miss my crotchety, old lovable Gramps. So true. Gramps is precious and I cherish all my memories with him. Grandpa played the long con. I like it. Plus he didn't have to lift a finger to get the neighbor cited either. I'm surprised the neighbor didn't accuse your grandfather of calling whatever officials that came out. The part I'm wondering is, would the neighbor have even believed Gramps if he had called him? He probably would have ignored the warning from Gramps and told him off again. Long, yes, but so worth it. Adding, the ending gives new meaning to punchline. Bravo. Assuming Gramps isn't the only neighbor, I'd say this guy isn't the most popular on the block. Yeah, his behavior really stands out as everyone else has always been super friendly from the day Gramps moved in. They're all retired and mostly chill AF, that one dude just had some issues. Destroyed his backyard? Now, what does neighbor mean by his? This just in from CERN. The Large Hadron Collider could be used to determine the mass of the violin being played. How long was he gone for? I'm betting that original fine doubled at the least. Company doesn't allow me to have my phone, so I cost them $100K plus. I have worked in warehouses for years. A few years back I was a contractor. Companies would hire us and bring in 20 plus people for a few weeks when they desperately needed help. I was a shift lead, usually the highest person on site, and needed to talk to my boss regularly throughout the day on a company phone. One warehouse had a policy where only managers could have their phone on the floor, and technically, I wasn't a manager. Everyone under me was instructed to leave them in their car or a locker. However, I needed mine. One day I was talking on the phone to my boss, and one of the managers for the company we were working for saw me and demanded I hand him my phone, and I refused. He then threatened to kick me out, so I rounded up all my workers and said we are taking a break. We all go outside, and I tell my boss what happened. He comes to the site instantly and starts talking to their boss and tells him I need my phone on the floor, but since I don't have manager in my title they refuse. So my boss decided I can't do my job, so nobody under me can do theirs either. The end of the day, the other company is pissed we didn't get any work done, and decides to cancel our contract, which cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's written in the contract that they will have to pay to send us home before the original end date. We all still got paid, and got 2 weeks off before having to go somewhere else. I used to work for a company that went the opposite way. In the call center, every agent had the title resolution manager, everyone else was a lead or a supervisor. So if you wanted to talk to a manager, you were talking to the employee with the least power in the company. It's crazy that titles mean so much to some people. The place I'm at now doesn't even have managers, the highest person in the warehouse is a senior supervisor and directors above that. My current job, the new PM tried to implement a no cell phone for anyone policy. Now I get not having a cell phone on the floor if you're working production. They can be very distracting. I text the PM multiple times a day when I need answers to things. Not to mention some of the machinery we need to call the vendors and have them check on parts / get drawings / help troubleshoot. All things I need my phone for. I crap you negative, I tried to explain that dynamic and was shot down. I knew what happened next was going to happen, I just didn't think it would be this quick. So I didn't fight it and went back to work. Maybe an hour later one of the machines goes down and we start trying to figure out why. PM comes out looking for an update and asks, "Did anyone call dude guy at company yet?" It was a very quiet 10 seconds before I said, "With what?" The narrowing of the eyes was enough acknowledgement as I was going to get, so I pulled my phone out my pocket and got it figured out. The no cell phone policy still stands, but it's yet to be enforced. Yep, that company sure showed you who's in charge. Take your 2 weeks paid vacation and get out. With the high number of short-sighted managers out there, how does capitalism even work? I am puzzled why your boss didn't give you the new job title of shift manager on the spot. I work at a gas station. We just got a new policy that we can't do safe drops of more than $100. So now I drop my money anytime I'm prompted to, even if there's customers and it's busy. Thought about only doing $99 drops. I can't take time off? Not an issue. It's been a long time since this happened, so I don't remember the details. Standard on my phone, so apologies for any mistakes. I was working at a consulting company during COVID and needed to travel outside the country to visit my family. Anyone who wants to argue traveling during COVID with me, you're welcome to stop reading. Since I was going to visit family, I asked for some time off, which was approved, and I booked my flights. 3 days before my time off started, my manager asked me to cancel my request and work as they need the help. I naturally said no because I had tickets booked to travel. Now, an important detail is that most of the clients of this company had clear instructions that their data must never leave the US or be worked on from outside the US. All the clients my team worked on were like this. My manager asked me to work remotely for a few of the days to help. I was naturally confused, so reminded her that I was traveling internationally, so that wouldn't work. She said to follow her instructions and not overthink this. My manager was a good manager and cared for her employees, but was a little ditzy. I knew it, sir, was asking, she really needed it, but I also knew I'd get nothing done. But there was no way I could say no. Cute MC, I took my laptop, logged on every day, replied to emails that I could, which took maybe 15 minutes, and replied to messages on Slack through the day on my phone if I could. 3 days in, my manager asked me why I had not gotten any work done, and I sent her a screenshot of the conversation and one of the rules preventing us from doing any real work outside the country. She replied saying that my time off would be approved and to resubmit. Got told off a bit once I got back, but she knew it wasn't really my fault and didn't say much. I hope you didn't request vacation time for when you were required to work. Oh no, I canceled my time off request after that first conversation. Later added it again for the remaining days. Can't request it retroactively anyways, so it was never a discussion or option. 2020 was a long time ago? Can't be. Today is March 1278, 2020. You shouldn't have traveled during COVID. In the spirit of this subreddit, I stopped reading where you said to so that I could make this post. Not just travel, but international travel, which IMO is even worse. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.